I ran away from my home because of my toxic parents. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but living under the constant scrutiny and judgment of my parents had become unbearable. I was tired of being criticized for every little thing I did, never feeling like I was good enough in their eyes. Growing up, I always felt like I was walking on eggshells around my parents. They had high expectations for me, always pushing me to excel in school and extracurricular activities. While I appreciated their desire for me to succeed, their methods were suffocating. They would constantly compare me to other kids, pointing out my flaws and shortcomings. Nothing I did was ever good enough for them. As I entered my teenage years, things only got worse. My parents became more controlling, monitoring my every move and invading my privacy. They would berate me for spending time with friends or pursuing my own interests. It felt like I was living in a prison, unable to truly be myself. One particularly bad night, my parents had a huge argument that escalated into a physical altercation. I could hear the screams and the sounds of things being thrown around. I had had enough. I packed a small bag with some clothes and essentials and quietly slipped out of the house while they were distracted. I didn't have a plan or a destination in mind. I just knew I needed to get away from that toxic environment. I wandered the streets aimlessly, feeling a mix of fear and liberation. I was scared of what the future held, but also relieved to be free from the oppressive grip of my parents. I spent the first few nights sleeping on park benches or in abandoned buildings. It was rough, but I managed to scrounge up enough food from local shelters and kind strangers to get by. I was grateful for the small acts of kindness from people who offered me a warm meal or a place to rest my head. As the days turned into weeks, I started to feel a sense of independence and empowerment. I was surviving on my own, without the constant judgment and negativity of my parents weighing me down. I found odd jobs here and there to make some money, doing yard work or washing dishes at a local diner. Despite the hardships, I felt a sense of freedom that I had never experienced before. I was able to make my own decisions and live life on my own terms. I met other runaway teens who shared similar stories of abusive or neglectful parents. We formed a makeshift family, looking out for each other and offering support in our shared struggle. One day, as I was sitting in a park watching the sunset, I received a call from a social worker who had been looking for me. She had been contacted by my parents, who were worried sick about my disappearance. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of whether I should go back to that toxic environment. But ultimately, I decided to meet with the social worker and hear what she had to say. She listened to my story with compassion and understanding, validating my feelings and offering me resources for support. She helped me navigate the legal system and arranged for me to stay in a youth shelter while we worked on a plan for my future. It wasn't an easy road ahead, but with the help of the social worker and my newfound friends, I started to rebuild my life. I attended therapy to address the trauma of my past and learned healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with stress and conflict. I eventually reconciled with my parents, setting boundaries and establishing a healthier relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. Running away from home was a drastic decision, but it ultimately led me to a place of self-discovery and resilience. I learned that I was stronger than I ever thought possible and that I deserved to be treated with love and respect. And while the scars of my past may never fully heal, I am grateful for the journey that led me to a place of healing and hope.